Good morning. You're watching Business World Live. I'm Jess De Los Santos. It's the start of a new trading day, but first, let's go straight to our top story. Fitch Ratings and the ASEAN Plus 3 Macroeconomic Research Office, or AMRO, have trimmed their growth forecast for the Philippines for this year. That's on the back of a sluggish vaccine rollout and the Delta outbreak. Fitch now expects a full year GDP expansion of 4.4%, lower than its initial projection of 5%. Meanwhile, AMRO has slashed its GDP forecast to 4.3% from the original projection of 6.4% it penciled in June. Both forecasts are close to the lower end of the government's full year target of 4 to 5%. Fitch said the resurgence of new infections since July, together with the low rate of vaccination, pose risks to the growth outlook. Meanwhile, the Bangko Sentral says it is open to extending the higher single borrowers limit, or SBL, beyond 2021. Recall that the SBL was temporarily increased from 30% from the previous 25% to encourage lending amid the COVID-19 pandemic. This was supposed to be effective only until March 31st, but the Bangko Sentral extended its effectivity to year end. Now, the BSP is saying they might once again extend the higher limit to further support economic recovery. Meanwhile, the BSP confirmed that the share of digital payments to total retail transactions topped 20% last year. This as the pandemic served as a catalyst to digitalization. BSP Governor Ben Jokno said the BSP achieved its objective under the National Retail Payment System to raise the share of electronic payments to 20% by 2020 to just about 1% in 2013. Okay, this time we begin with Asia. You have major indices in the region tracking gains in Wall Street after the Senate passed a bill, U.S. Senate at that, extending their debt ceiling, averting a possible default with a vote of 50 to 48. That statutory debt ceiling was lifted by $480 billion, but that is expected to be used up by December 3 this year. All that remains to be seen for now is for the U.S. House to at least pass the measure as well, but that's already largely expected. As I mentioned earlier, Asia is mirroring that rally in the U.S., with major markets outperforming. You have major Japanese indices here, the topics in the Nikkei, both in the green, with the topics up by 1.8%. The Nikkei likewise climbing by more than 2%. Also, you have Korea here, however, in the red here, at least a muted decline here for the Kospi. For Australia, however, outperforming still here are the Aussie stocks up by 0.8%. Let's see if the local bourses following suit here. 5 minutes into the trading day, you'd see here the index is in the green here with few minutes into the trading day up close to 0.8%. And that pretty much reverses as well that drop that we saw yesterday with the index declining by 1.5% after investors took profit following a huge rally above 7,000 on Wednesday. The thing is, you have the index once again breaking past that resistance level so far the session today at 7,004.45. Analysts say the index would have to redo crashing that level, and it seems as though we have managed to do that at least in the earlier part of the session. Now, let's have a check at our leaders and laggards for today. Let me just, okay, you have now at least for our leaders and laggards, first gen reversing declines that we saw over the past few sessions here. FGen has seen 2 days of huge declines as it exits the main gauge following the completion of KRR's tender offer. But as you can see here, you now have investors getting the stock so far today up by 5.25%, now at 29 pesos and 05 centavos a piece. However, on the other hand, you have Converge here continuing that decline that we saw yesterday. Yesterday, you have the internet provider experiencing a whopping 14.8% drop after Wednesday's rally pushed its 14-day RSI to overbought levels. As you can see now, you have Converge still on the decline here. One of the few stocks here in the red, down 8.8% to 34 pesos and 20 centavos a share. Also, we have to take a look at Globe here. The thing with Globe is that you have its GOMO unit set to commence their number porting service on October 12th. This comes after Smart question delays in its launch before the NTC. Now, the telco giant denies any malice or intent to violate the mobile number portability law. As you can see, Globe, however, one of the few stocks here experiencing a sell-off down close to a 4.25%, now at 3,102. Okay, also we have to check at the financial counter. This chapter, the BSP said that it is cautiously optimistic that looser restrictions and the ensuing economic activity will actually help boost growth in bank lending. Loans net of reverse repurchase placements expanded for the first time in August since November last year. That's at 1.3%. Of course, the central bank's relief measures will stay in place as long as economic developments and financial conditions permit. A good day so far here for the financial counter, up by 9 tenths of 8% overall, with Union Bank, BDO, and Security Bank leading gains, all up by more than 8% so far at 8 minutes into the trading day. Today is the eighth and final day of the filing of certificates of candidacy. Senator Kiko Pangilinan filed his COC for Vice President earlier this morning, and he was accompanied by his running mate, presidential hopeful VP Lenny Robredo. First to file today is the Anak ng Maharlikang Pilipino Party List, or AMP. They are followed by the Champ Party List, Anak IP Party List, and the Isa Ako Driver Party List. 3 presidential aspirants have also filed their COCs this morning. These include Ferdinand Jose Pihao, Danilo Roble, and Cornelio Senio. Meanwhile, several individuals have also filed their COCs for senator. Among them are Silvestro Bello Jr., Marianito Roque, Iluminado Macalalad, Nurmahal Lal Ikiram, and Eugenio Insigne. On the other hand, Sonny Trillanes, Noli De Castro, Laila De Lima, and Sal Panelo are expected to file their COCs for senator later today, while Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte's supporters are still hoping that she would file for presidency today. Here are other headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The National Privacy Commission is now looking into reports of smishing or phishing carried out through unsolicited text messages. The scheme is allegedly conducted using information drawn for COVID-19 contact tracing forms. The commission said they will investigate if the contact info of those targeted by smishing came from health declaration forms. The agency said it has received reports of smishing in the form of unsolicited text messages having links to websites that look legitimate but are fraudulent. When the user clicks this link, the site then proceeds to steal the user's personal data, bring malware, and even commit outright fraud. Okay, to find out more how smishing is being carried out in the country and how to protect yourself against it, we have National Privacy Commission IT Officer under their Data Security and Technology Division, Jansen Esquera. Good afternoon, Jansen.
Yes, good afternoon or good morning, Jess.
Sorry, good morning. Sorry. Okay, so smishing is, of course, phishing through SMS. You're linking the recent spate of incidents to the use of contact tracing details. What led you to that conclusion? And how wide are we? Give us an idea on the magnitude of these incidents. How many cases are we talking about?
Yeah. So we have yet to finalize actual smishing incidents that were allegedly gathered in contact tracing. Currently, as of now, we only count phishing threats in general. But as for smishing, we only base it from anecdotal monitoring rather reaching these investigation incidents in our NPC's processes. But nevertheless, these types of risks exist and may pose great harm to us individuals and therefore should not be downplayed.
Okay,
So
maybe just to give us a better idea, can you give us at least uh, by how much has cases of smishing increased since the start of the pandemic?
yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have that data yet,
Mhm.
but we're seeing in our social media monitoring, in our in some uh, of our individuals that are reporting in our emails and our social media handles that these types of threats exist. So not just only for contact tracing allegedly, but they are being used. For example, when a user uh, buys an item online using their e-commerce platforms.
Mhm.
So they are being tricked into to clicking those links or completing those requests received through SMS in order for those parcels to be delivered.
Okay, so that's one other avenue by which smishing is conducted, like what you mentioned through online deliveries and transactions. Given all that, is there a need for us to rethink how we provide our information online, whether it be through online deliveries or contact tracing efforts?
I think it's inevitable that our mobile numbers are one of the identifiers or information that we use on a daily basis. So um, awareness is key, as I always say. So when we are aware that what actions do we take once we receive these kinds of messages. For example, the golden advice is to not click anything, do not tap
Mhm.
anything that is unknown to you, that you do not personally know that you requested such service. So do not tap. So usually the advice is think twice before you click that link, but
Mhm.
immediately do not click,
Mhm.
because if you want to access that service. For example, I mentioned online shopping. So you may navigate in your directly in your application to for example to check the status of your parcel or your item.
Okay. Now, like you mentioned, awareness is key, but can you give us an idea? What are the red flags that we're looking at here for us to better determine that this is a possible case of smishing?
Yeah. For high usually when these types of phishing over SMS, you receive one in your cell phone in your inbox. So we have this character limit in text messages, right? So usually these links are shortened.
Mm.
um, so usually, right, the phishing websites are hiding behind shortened links, and which do not usually constitute the legitimate links. So it's hard to check on mobile, but it's possible. But it's still possible. So we recommend also users to check if the website or the full link is really the website. Usually, the victims of this are our local banks.
Mm.
Example, BDO, like that. So the threat actors usually spoof those banks to victimize the users.
Okay, good. Lots to watch out for, especially on that one. Again, our viewers, of course, have to be wary of such messages. But this time, let's shift to a different topic. Can you give us updates here on the Marcus text blast? Telco's already denying involvement. How exactly did this happen?
Yeah, we're all aware that it's election season now. So one of the unsolicited text messages we receive is, of course, election surveys. That's one of the, apart from the online shopping that I've mentioned a while ago. So usually phishing over SMS are actual SMS messages received in one's inbox. But this particular incident is the one that has been used is the emergency broadcast service of phones. So this is separate from the short messaging service, the SMS. So these emergency alerts are usually used how, for example, when the akin to how the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council sent emergency alerts. For example, when there's a volcanic activity in Taal, so or a typhoon in a certain area, the NDRMMC may use nearby cell sites to broadcast emergency alerts. So this happened in the same manner. So in a certain area, it's also time bound. There, a certain cell tower broadcasted this message. This message. So I also received the NPC is also happens to be nearby Sofitel, right? So Sofitel is the venue for COC filing. So uh, so what happened is that uh, a nearby cell tower broadcasts these messages. So I understand that telcos may not be aware of this. Yes, that may be true. As cell tower spoofing exists, so one may look at stingrays. So usually stingrays are used by private investigation companies or law enforcement agencies. So basically, the stingrays or these cell tower spoofing devices emulates or imitates a cell tower where they can also push personal messages or broadcast messages. So, for example, a cell tower of Smart Nearby can be imitated by a portable device which broadcasted that device relating to Bongbong Marcos.
So, Jansen, should this be a cause for concern? Is there a reason to fear that this might happen again in the future?
Definitely, because while these devices are difficult to purchase, this is not commercially available. This can be used in other areas as this is only portable, and given that one has such access to black markets or has these devices, one can also broadcast this to other areas as well.
So, is it going to take time before you at least pinpoint the culprit here?
Yeah, I understand. The NPC, the National Privacy Commission, has said it is looking into the matter. As far as I know, we have not yet made any major progresses. This is technically very difficult, and we lack the proper equipment to track this down. I believe we would coordinate with our National Telecommunications Commission, as this falls in the telco domain, so it's in their jurisdiction, and they might have the uh, definitely they have the expertise and the proper infrastructure for that.
Are you looking at system changes at least to avert this from happening again?
Um, uh, for system changes in the side of the user, so there's not much that we can do about it. So we usually can dismiss these things, but in a technical standpoint, one can disable the emergency broadcast alerts in their phone. But of course, this is discouraged, as when a real disaster has occurred. So crisis communications may be uh, a difference for life and death, right? So
All right. Thank you very much for your time this morning. National Privacy Commission IT Officer, Data Security and Technology Standards Division, Jansen Sigara. Thank you, Jansen.
thank you, Jess.
And that's a first look into the business day this Friday, October 8, 2021. Catch Business World Live for the market close at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Jess De Los Santos and VR1 News. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines.